and you think, well, I'll get some pole pruner that'll reach that high and I'll do it myself. It's not that easy. That, I mean, it's taking me, I can't even hold it straight. It's doing that on its own. So you can't, when it comes to larger trees, you can't really prune them with a pole pruner efficiently. So I'm going to lay this back down now. Now, my crew, we actually use these. This is more poles than our crew uses actually. My crew will actually use this, but they'll only use maybe 2, maybe 3 poles at the most at one time, and even that's hard. But pole pruners are okay. I've got one in my truck that I use to get samples out of trees with, and it's just a generic brand. I don't really use it to prune trees with. I just use it to get samples out of trees for the ID that I do or for other reasons. But they're really not good for pruning, to be honest. If you know, I hear a lot of stories where people get hurt in ladders in trees, and here's how that works. If you're in a ladder in a tree, let's say you're up in a ladder, you got one of those 16-foot ladders up in this tree, and you're pruning the branches out. And let's say this is a little bit higher, maybe it's like in one of those oaks over there. And here's the physics of why ladders and pruning trees is so bad. Because when you're in the ladder up in the tree and you're cutting a limb out of the tree, there's 2 things that can potentially happen. One is that the branch will come down, swing, not hit the ground, and the brushy part swinging down will swing back down around and knock the ladder out from underneath you. The other thing that could happen is the end of the limb will come down and the brushy part will hit the ground, and the heavy butt end, after it breaks free from the tree, will bounce back towards you and hit the ladder out from underneath of you. Back in my early days when I first started learning all this stuff, I actually was in a ladder one time, and that almost happened to me. So those are the physics of why pruning with ladders is so dangerous. If you need to use a ladder to prune a tree with, you really need to consider hiring a professional. You really do. Now, I want to talk real quick about our tree licensing program. In Evansville, we got a licensing program for tree companies to work for hire within the city of Evansville. To get the license, they have to come to a class, which we talk about very basic tree stuff like topping and a lot of other important things that any tree company should know. But we also make sure they have some amount of insurance. If the tree company is not on the license list, there's a very good chance they don't have any insurance. So if you are planning on hiring any tree service ever to come do tree work for you, I highly recommend that you look at that license list, which is online. I'm going to put my business card on the table in between swapping groups. So if anybody needs that website or needs to call me, my card will be on the table in a little bit. The other thing is, beware of tree companies going door to door. Now, if you got a tree company going door to door, you might feel sorry for them, but you got to wonder, why are they going door to door? Why don't they already have the business lined up like a good, reputable tree service would already have? The good tree services that are out there, it will be harder to get them to come to your property to give you estimates or do work for you within a timely manner, because they've already got a huge amount of work already lined up, because they're so well known and they're so good at what they do. But these guys going door to door, why are they out there looking for work? Are they not local? Do they not have the experience? Do they have a bad reputation? You know, what is going on? Why are they going door to door? I'm going to tell you right now, last year we had a group from Illinois come here doing tree work, and they ripped 3 people off on 3 different sides of town, and they didn't have a license. We have the same thing happening now. where about a month ago there's a tree service who's ripped 3 people off, and 3 different sides of town, again from Kentucky, going door to door. Neither of these companies have a license. They're very hard to catch, and the police really can't do a whole lot about them unless there's an actual contract written up. And these guys going door to door usually either get asked for cash or a check. They'll cash it immediately if you give them a check. And what this group from Kentucky did, and what the group from Illinois did, both, they did half the amount of work, and they were paid up front. They cashed the check and they took off. So be very leery about tree companies going door to door. Always check our licensed tree company list for anybody who you plan on doing tree work on your property.
Is there a certain level of insurance you would recommend that they would have, or is there anything that you guys look at?
It really depends on your property, yeah, and where the tree is at on your property. I mean, if they're pruning a tree, if you got $1 million home and they're removing a tree right next to your house.
So it's really property liability versus like if they get hurt on your property type of thing, right?
Well, workers' comp and liability are 2 different animals.
Right? So there's very few people that have the working comp.
Yeah. I would recommend that you make sure if they have insurance at least for the value of your home, in case they fell a tree on your house. Okay. Of course, if it's a tree out in an open field, it may not matter too much how much the insurance they have. Yeah. It just depends on a lot of things.
But then you could have, if they got hurt on your property, have liability for that concern, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, this pine tree right here, I want to point out one thing. A lot of times with these pine trees and bald cypress trees, magnolia trees like the one behind you, you really don't have to worry about a whole lot, except the one thing that sometimes you do have to worry about are multi-stem trunks. And so right here, you see right here, you got 2 different trunks right there. See where I'm pointing with this laser pointer? And then also, and that extends all the way up